Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy Sunday. You're listening to Whatever Works on KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM. I'm your host, Sam Works.
I'm Kyle Kerrigan.
And we got
Angel Jimenez.
Angel Jimenez. Is that Vincent?
It's Angel Jimenez. Vincent is my middle name.
Oh, okay, got you. And we got Angel here in the building. Welcome back, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. It's another beautiful Sunday. Man, weather's amazing. The day's amazing. We got to thank God every day that we get to experience this. We are live on Instagram as well. So if you guys want to see us live with a little video, you guys want to see what Angel looks like, what I've been looking like, what Kyle looks like, yeah, just go on Instagram, look up KCAA, whatever works. If you guys the first time chiming in, welcome. If you guys are interested in the show and you guys want to listen to any previous shows, you can always just go on Spotify, Apple Music, all that good stuff, and just look up
KCAA, whatever works on everything.
on everything.
Everything.
You guys. Even YouTube. So this is going to be on YouTube. Thank you, Joe, for being our board op. Good to see you again. And we just want to thank everyone for listening. Before we start getting into today's conversation, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsors.
SNJRadio.com, no negative news, no politics, just feel good music. And also, Class C Entertainment, your local stop for music, local and live music.
Yes, sir. And also, West Coast Solar Cleaning. If you guys have houses and you guys have some solar, you got to get them cleaned. People are calling 909-769-6220. You know, save energy, save money. West Coast Solar Cleaning. All right, so let's get into it. You know how this works, guys. This is the show where we bring in a new guest every Sunday. And it's actually kind of funny how me and Angel met. Wasn't too long ago, actually.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's like,
it was for the Colorado Buffaloes. It was their game. We went to the Tartan restaurant in Redlands to go see the game. Me and my wife on a date.
Yeah. And I was working out on the patio, and I was actually his server. And we actually have a bunch of games going on. I remember it was like the Broncos versus somebody else and all this stuff. I didn't know you're a fan of.
Colorado Buffaloes. Yeah, Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders fan, bro.
Yeah, they're doing.
I like Sanders.
Honestly, they're always a pretty good team. I'm just surprised they never made it to the Super Bowl recently. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they're hot this year though, for sure.
Well, the thing is they were trying to go for the college football playoffs or whatever it is to be a part of that top group, but they got the Alamo Bowl, so we were. I think it was the Alamo Bowl. That's what I was watching. The Alamo Bowl. Yeah, they were there playing. So they ended up getting destroyed. But
really,
yeah. Well, that's why I left. We left so early.
You're like, you know what?
Yeah, my salmon salad was kicking. It was awesome, amazing, right? The salmon Cobb salad. But yeah, we had to leave because I knew they were gonna get destroyed. So me and my wife ended up taking off to go see a movie of all things. So
that's cool. Yeah.
Okay, which movie?
Oh my gosh, what movie did we go see? Not the Forge. We just saw the Forge the other day. It was Homestead. We went to go watch Homestead. Yeah, and it's actually there's a twist to Homestead too, which is kind of weird. It kind of threw me off. I'm not really like that. I don't like unless I know I'm watching Netflix or I know I'm watching something. I don't like to watch a movie and then here's a spoiler alert. It's actually turning into a series. So when you go watch the movie at the theater, it's actually the beginning of the actual what's happening, and it's about a nuclear bomb dropping in the city of LA.
Oh man!
So it's a trip, bro. It has a lot of prophetic, stuff. For
you know, every once in a while, especially because like I don't smoke anymore, but back in the day when I used to, one of my favorite things to do is like go on a like crazy hike. You're on the top of the mountaintop and you like smoke a blunt, whatever. And I'm always looking out in the distance. I'm like, I always tell people who are with me, like, man, imagine if like a nuke just went off like over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like pointing towards LA.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. And it was people trying to get out of the city of LA. And there's like this safe haven homestead, if you will, which is the name of the movie, in Colorado, the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. And so the thing is based on these people trying to get over there. They're trying to get to that safe haven.
Everyone's
homestead.
trying to go there.
And then the twist in the movie, and I'll save it for you guys, but you know, we all think, you know, like we're going to protect each other, just us three right here, and we're going to bunker down and no one's coming in and we have enough food supply. And then the twist at the end of the movie, or at the end of that, to get into the series is actually pretty dope. But
Wow. Yeah, I was thinking about going to the movies recently. I was looking through. I was like, there's no really any good movies out there. I mean,
Oh, dude. Nosferatu was amazing.
what is it?
Nosferatu?
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure what
yeah.
that is.
Yeah.
It's a remake of a silent film that was from 1920s,
Mm.
and it's a vampire. It's a vampire story, basically Dracula.
Oh, okay.
It's like a retelling of Dracula.
That's
basically.
pretty interesting.
No.
Yeah. So when I met Angel at the Tartan, we kind of, it was a very short conversation, but both of us sparked each other's interest, and I wanted him to come on the show as soon as possible. I mean, we have people booked for the next like month and a half, so I'm really glad that we got to
Yeah.
fit a spot in for you.
Absolutely.
But you want to give like just a little quick recap about like your life and why you're here on the show?
Yeah, so I was born in August 10th, 1980. Born in the city of Redlands, born and raised in Redlands. I was born to at the time I considered her a single mom just because my biological father wasn't really around too much. So she was 16 years old when she got pregnant, 17 when she had me. And she was the biggest embarrassment to my grandparents ever because she was the youngest sibling of 5. And they were a strong, dominant Catholic family. And it was a major embarrassment. St. Mary's Church, back, I'm sure, in those times, like my grandparents were like pretty high up there in the church and stuff. So to have their younger 16-year-old daughter pregnant was probably, you know, an embarrassment. But anyways, my mom made the right decision and didn't abort me, thank God. And my grandparents ended up taking me in once I was born. They ended up, you know, oh, great, this, you know, little angel, whatever. So I ended up being that sibling. I don't know if you guys have ever are the cousin that lived with his grandparents. So I was that one.
Okay.
So whenever grandma and grandpa had something going on, I was like the permanent fixture there.
Yeah.
So naturally, I got teased by all my cousins and everybody. They always, oh, you know, grandma's boy, grandpa's boy, whatever. Yeah, exactly, right? They would always trip me, and I'd get in trouble. Angel. But anyways, so I grew up in Redlands on Calhoun Street. I played ball since I was 7 years old. My grandparents always put me in sports, my grandpa and my mom. I was an altar boy in the Catholic Church all the way up until I was 11. So that was kind of what kept me out of trouble, because I ran with a couple of kids in our neighborhood, and actually 2 of them are actually doing time in prison for pretty much the rest of their life. But what actually kept me out of trouble, and I tell my testimony to different men's homes and churches, was when the street lights came on, I was the kid that had to be home, right?
Yep.
And I also responded to a whistle. There was a whistle that they would give out that I knew that, oh, that's my grandparents or that's my mom. I need to get my butt home. So I would, ride my bike, and then my friends would stay out and do their thing and tag or get in trouble or whatever it was. But I had to be home, so. And I also, my family, the Jimenez side of my family, pretty predominant, professors, probation officer, professor of law, attorney, and so there was a good side of the family that I was actually raised by. So I did all that, and then I was bused from the north side of Redlands. If anybody's listening familiar with that side, it's more of like, they call it the ghetto side, the other side of the tracks.
The other side, yeah. Other side,
Whatever, but I was bused to Mariposa Elementary, which is on the extreme south side of the city of Redlands, right?
Yeah,
So I
Redlands
was
Hills.
the Mexican kid who was bused all the way with all my cool white friends, right? And I did that from 1st through 6th grade, and then from 7th, 8th grade, I went to Cope Middle School in Redlands, and then I graduated from RHS, from Redlands High School, played ball, football for Coach Walker at RHS, and I had aspirations just like anybody. I wanted to be a Marine. I wanted to, be a police officer, and for the city of Redlands. And so, I tried those routes. They didn't necessarily work out for me. I probably wasn't the smartest person to be taking the ASVAB test because I failed 3 times with like I think there was like a 35 or 36 to be, considered to be qualified, whatever, even for the Marine Corps, right?
Right.
Shout out to my Marines out there, but not that they're the dumbest, but like I just wanted to be a killer, right? Like go out and fight and stuff. And that didn't really happen. So I guess, God had other plans for me, and I ended up, becoming a father at a young age 20 years old, I had my first son. And so I began my journey that way, you know, I just with different jobs, odd jobs and stuff. So
So you graduated RHS what year?
1999. Woo-hoo.
Okay.
Yeah.
My brothers and sisters graduated around that time, RHS.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of the class clown.
okay.
I was the one that was always like messing around. So a lot of people, they tease me. They say I'm like the unofficial mayor of Redlands, like because everywhere we
okay.
go, like even when we were at the Tartan that night, I knew like 2 or 3 people. So it's like me and my wife joke, like no matter where I go, it's like I always know somebody. But yeah, it's usually around the group that graduated between like 95, 2005 area that I know all those people. So
Oh, okay. Yeah. Damon and Davina Choate are my brother and sister. Yeah. Yeah. 96, I think my brother graduated. Or 95.
did you play sports too or no?
I think he played baseball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's a football guy. No, just
Oh
kidding.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
but I knew a lot of the other sports, the other jocks and stuff.
And
'Cause
then
we
my
also had,
sister
like, a
did
party
color guard,
group.
I think.
Huh?
I think my sister did color guard.
Oh,
She
okay.
graduated in 97.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we had like a party crew. So it was like what I would do. Like I love to say that I was like one of the masterminds behind the party crew. It was called DOA, Disciples of Alcohol. Whatever, right?
Okay.
But
He's
we
like, it's
but,
genius.
but we were the ones that threw the keggers. So
okay.
so we would have our little connection that would get kegs, and then we would put out flyers and stuff like that because that was like the era of like the house party, like
Right.
95.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so everybody, it was real big. So I'm sure I hung out with, I got friends from everywhere, like different,
Yeah.
all walks of life, you know, not just jocks and football players, but those are my security guys when we threw parties.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Like, hey, we'll throw these crazy parties as long as you guys, protect us. You know?
And then what we did is we invented the $5 for a red cup.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
Yeah,
so
bottomless.
when you came to the door, we usually had 2 or 3 different kind of guys that were there. Like, hey, $5, you get a red cup. So then you get the red cup and you get to walk in the party. But when we had a scanner at the time, so we knew when Redlands PD was coming. So whenever Redlands PD would come, we would switch the people out, and we'd have like somebody that was just a guest, like, hey, welcome to the party.
Really?
Or like, hey, who's all here? You know, like the cops, were like, oh no, we're just having a good time. But little did they know we were actually, paying for our kegs and then paying to throw the next party the next week.
Right.
So
You guys are little
it
entrepreneurs.
was kind of cool little operation. It was a cooler operation, man.
No, it's really cool. Nowadays, people are just like, hey, you just pay up front and you just go. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's no real like system anymore in these parties. So that's pretty cool.
Well, and that's the thing too. I tripped out on like my son. I know my son my 24-year-old went to parties and stuff, but my daughter, my 20-year-old daughter, I never really heard those stories from her, like going to like to the because she just graduated in 22, but. Like I knew from our era, from our time, like there was parties every weekend. So I'm sure
Every
there's still
weekend.
parties, but Dad just didn't know about it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and it was weird too because at a lot of those parties, some of the guys who organized them, we didn't even drink. So we were sober, like literally just making money. Like we made money just so that way we could have a good time for the next weekend and have in and out money or have money to go to the late night taco stand or whatever and just brag about our party,
Yeah,
And
remember
that was kind of cool. Yeah, that was,
I feel like you guys are doing it right. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can't be drinking your own. Like,
yeah, no. Yeah, and it carried over too because then like I went after high school and stuff, I became a bouncer. And actually well, funny story is it was Deja Vu back in the day in Redlands.
Oh.
So I was the bouncer at Deja Vu, and then I also became the DJ when a DJ called off on a Saturday. Yeah, and that was pretty.
you
crazy.
knew how to mix.
No, it's actually, ladies and gentlemen, come in the center seats for 2. So it's like pretty much the voice, right?
Yeah,
You're the voice, but it's not a mix. It's actually just a computer board, and let's say your stage name is Ginger. Well, I have Ginger on my playlist, and I have like 10 songs that she goes by that she plays, and usually the first song is like a faster paced song, and you only play it for a minute, and then the next song is a slower, like sensual, sexual type song, and you play that for a minute and a half. And that's because you're also coordinating what's going on in the back room in the VIP lounge. they're feeding off of whatever you're playing. So the girls are giving lap dances in the back. Yeah. So anyways, it was weird. It was weird how I landed in that position. But actually that to this day, other than owning my own box truck business, to this day, that was the job that paid the most money. Like I literally would not walk out of an evening of doing, or a day shift of DJing a strip club without $1,500 in my pocket, because they tip you out.
Oh, okay.
So if she does good,
Yeah.
she'll tip you out. And so when you were bouncing, there's 4 other bouncers. So it has to go 4 ways, right?
Right.
You know, but when you're the DJ,
Only one DJ.
only one DJ, right? So I would walk out with good money, and I'm talking, I was only 21, 22 years old. Like, or, you know, 21, 22, 20, I think it was 23 was when I stopped. But you made really good money, you know, but I just, it was nerve-wracking. It was just nerve-wracking because you're playing the way you're talking, the way you're doing, like, and then check this out. I got a wonderful story for you guys in your audience. I'm sure would crack up. But there was this girl, and if you're out there listening, she's from Yucaipa. I apologize. But she went by the name of Fawn, F-A-W-N, right? Okay. Fawn. Yeah. So it was my very first time, and the manager at the time said, all you got to do is just call her out and then click start, and then the song plays, wait for a minute. You know, he gave me the rundown, right? So I'm like shaking, I'm sweating. I'm like, okay, this is like my debut. So I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, come to the center stage for 2, Spawn. I called her Spawn. Bro, she opened up the curtain, and I'm off to the stage right? She opened up the curtain and literally gave me the middle finger. And she's like, yeah, F you, dude, right? And so I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm trying to tell her, like, I'm really sorry. And, yeah, so that was my debut for that, which is kind of funny now that I think about it now. And, I mean, she was a beautiful, like, I mean, she was a beautiful, beautiful Caucasian blonde girl from Yucaipa. And some people I'm sure would know her if they're listening, but she went by the name of Fawn. And that was my debut, and so it was horrible. But after that, I started to be familiar with people's names, and every now and then I'll do my little DJ voice and joke around if I ever have a microphone or something. Yeah. It's kind of cool.
No, that is pretty good. Yeah.
So I did that, but and so yes. So then after like that job and stuff, I actually had to like started getting legit jobs, even though that is to me a legit job, but nobody really thinks it is, right? So my first day at Quaid Harley Davidson of being a porter, I actually crashed one of their bikes straight into a wall.
No.
What?
Because I lied to them and told them I knew how to ride a motorcycle, but I actually didn't.
Oh.
Like I rode like a Yamaha 185. It was called an Exciter, right? That was the bike, right? There wasn't nothing exciting about it between my legs. But it was a 1985 Yamaha Exciter, and I thought I was, shout out to the Hells Angels, but I thought I was a Hells Angel riding from Redlands to Loma Linda every day on this little bike. And I didn't realize that I looked like a monkey, on a football, right? Or like you could have literally put a ball and I'd be looking like a circus bear.
Those bikes are super clunky too, right?
Horrible, right?
Yeah.
So I told the manager at the time, Mike, shout out to Mike if you're listening out in Montclair, our Upland area. But I told him, he says, hey, can you ride a motorcycle? And I'm like, absolutely, bro. What are you talking about? Can I ride a motorcycle? See that beast out there? Yeah, whatever, right? So I get on my first bike, and it's a white Dyna Wide Glide. And I go start it, and I I'm doing the little tippy toe walking of it, and then I get it going, right? And I hit the corner, and as I hit the corner, well, here's the story. So if anybody's listening from Quaid, I apologize. The throttle did get stuck, but I actually went full speed, 40 miles an hour into the sidewall by the freeway. Okay, so I had a white T-shirt on, some 501 jeans, and some boots, and I literally ended up like this against the wall, and I fell back. So they come running after me. They're like, "Are you okay? How can you move?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just embarrassed." And they're like, "Dude, you totaled the bike, bro." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like, So I figured I was done, right? I was fired, right? Yeah. So the manager Mike comes out. He says, "Hey, what are you doing? You said you could ride a motorcycle. What happened?" I'm like, "The throttle got stuck." Like that's the only thing I could think of, right? Like that made sense because it was going so fast. So thank God that bike Quaid owned outright, because back in the day, they used to do a thing called a fly-in ride. So basically, it's like a rental bike, right? When somebody comes into town, you can rent that bike and you could take it. So Quaid owned the bike, so thank God it was not a customer's bike, which was totally cool, right? So yeah, I've had a lot of first-time experiences on a very first job, just like this is my first ever podcast.
Yeah.
So like I've had first-time experiences, which are pretty crazy, crazy job stuff. So
That's awesome, dude. I like that.
trip, man.
That's actually kind of hilarious. Now every time when I drive by Harley Davidson, I'm gonna look for that wall.
yeah, no, the wall's in the back, and it has
Okay.
like a wannabe crack, like because it kind of looks cool to have like brick and
Right.
have stucco.
Yeah.
But literally, I ran straight into that wall, dude. It's like right by the trash cans.
That's
and
funny.
since it was the first bike, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Quaid. They put all their bikes in their service garage. That's where they're
Oh,
all
yeah.
stored. They're secure there, right, overnight. But you have to pull them out. So you pull them out, and like I said, it was the very first bike. So there was no other obstruction. I could have ran into a car, the tow truck that they have out there, the
Yeah.
forklift.
Yeah.
I ran straight into the wall, and it was like the forks were bent, jacked
Man.
up, bro.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was the clutch actually stuck? Or
No, so basically what happened is so the throttle on a Yamaha Exciter, right? You have to actually, give it some, right? But on a Harley, it's
yeah.
literally just a hair,
Feather, yeah.
and it goes. So you do the clutch, and then you give it a little bit, and the Harleys take off. Well, like he said, the Yamaha Exciter is a clunker,
Yeah.
so you have to it's cable too, like crazy,
Yeah.
you have to give it, some gas. So yeah. So the throttle didn't get stuck. It was just I was an
Yeah.
idiot, didn't know how to ride the bike.
It's a little
but-
too touchy.
yeah, a little too touchy. So
that's funny.
yeah, so then 6 months later, I ended up meeting a buddy of mine there that I used to wash his bike all the time. Shout out to Skins, and I prospected for the Boost Fighters. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that club, but it's one of the oldest clubs in history. So I ended up prospecting for them, and I learned how to ride a Harley, needless to say.
Yeah.
So,
And they said you have to have one now, huh?
yeah, so they say you have to have one. So Brandon Quaid, shout out to him. He made it possible for me to get my first Harley. So I had to end up putting I don't know what happened to the Yamaha, but I ended up getting a real, it was a Harley Davidson it was a Softail Standard is what it was called, 2004. And that was my first bike, and I dressed
Okay.
ape hangers and stuff like that. So I finally got like a legit bike. But after working with Quaid and for Quaid, you learn how to ride every bike.
Yeah.
So, I was doing the big bagger bikes, the dressers and stuff. So after that, you can ride a Sportster like it's,
Yeah.
I could do wheelies down the
Like it's
parking
a
lot.
toy,
Yeah. So after you do it, because you're doing it every day. Monday,
Right.
or Tuesday through Saturday, you're pulling those bikes out and bringing them in. So you're in charge of that. But yeah, so that's how my whole motorcycle club experience got started.
Yeah.
And I got
Is
that
that how you got
itch.
recognized with? In the
Yeah,
whole thing,
so what happened was I prospected for the Boost Fighters, ended up being a Boost Fighter for about a year or so, learned really how to ride in groups, stuff like that. And then we got invited, one of the guys out of the San Diego chapter, he was good friends with some Mongols, and we got invited, or he got invited by them to their Pico Rivera clubhouse at the time. This is probably 2004. And he got invited, and they, I guess, since I was literally one of the only Hispanics in the Boost Fighters, to be honest with you, at the time, they said, why don't you come with us, right? Because, you're a big Mexican dude, and you got tattoos and stuff. We'll look cool, right? So we ended up going, and I ended up running into two childhood friends of mine that were actually in the club.
In the Mongols.
In the Mongols, and I didn't know that, right? I didn't know it at the time, right? So then I was like, thinking to myself, hey, I know these dudes. I grew up with them. Well, especially one of them.
I know how tough they are.
Yeah, no, and so I'm like, this, this is cool. So I started kind of hooking up with them, talking to them and stuff, and then an incident had occurred in the city of Mentone, and then I ended up leaving the Boost Fighters, and I ended up prospecting for the Mongols for 4 months, and it was on my daughter's first birthday. I actually started prospecting for the Mongols in 2005, I believe it was. No, 2004, when she was just born, and then 2005 I actually got my patch in February.
Wow.
February 5th of 2005 is when I got my patch to be a full-blown Mongol member. And then I was in the club for probably 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was, started my way from the bottom as a soldier, through the ranks, sergeant at arms, which means basically you're the cavalry, and then, the 2008 raids happened. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that. It was called Operation Black Rain, where they
heard about that.
Yeah, they took down like 96 brothers, and
It was mostly the Hells Angels, though, right?
no, it was the Mongols.
Oh, it was the Mongols?
It was the ATF investigation on us, and in 2008 they took down all these brothers. So me and 3 other guys were the only ones left in the Purdue chapter, and so naturally, because of the chain of command, I ended up president. And so I did that for a couple of years, and then I think it was 2000. I always got my dates mixed up with 2012 or 2013, I believe, is when I actually I turned it in. I just I turned it in. Had a bad experience with some members and on the top, and I just felt it was my time to leave, and so I turned it in and never looked back. I mean, I kind of wanted to because I missed the bravado, I missed the excitement, I missed the riding in a pack, I missed
adrenaline.
Yeah, the adrenaline, and like I don't, when I go give my testimony at churches, I don't have a drug or alcohol testimony. Like I've never been big on drugs. Like the first time I ever smoked was like in 7th, 8th grade, and it burned the back of my throat, and I hated that feeling. But not only that, since I was such a control freak, I didn't like the fact that I wasn't in control when I was doing drugs. So I don't have like when I go give my testimony, sometimes I have to let like these recovery homes know that I don't have a hardcore drug story, but my my addiction was adrenaline. My addiction was women. You know what I mean? I loved going fast, going hard, partying. And natural too. It was weird. Well, now we have energy drinks, but back then there wasn't very many energy drinks, so you were kind of like drinking Red Bull, like that was the only thing back in the day, right? But so when I give my testimony, that's what it was. It was the adrenaline, it was the girls, and that's what I ended up missing when I left the club. Was that some of the brothers that were a part of just having a good time.
Doing that,
yeah. And a lot of them, and it was weird too, because you'll get like these stories like Gangland, which is ridiculous, right? Or these other these other documentaries like on that people believe, and
it's all fabricated.
Yeah, it is. And honest to God, I was never, and I can say this, if there was a Bible right here and I had to put my hand on it, I was never offered anything harder than smoking a blunt. Like never offered any, they knew my skilo, my get down. They knew I wasn't about that. So I didn't get none of these like, hey, bro, you want to go, none of this stuff, dude. And it's crazy because like a lot, they say, oh, they're on drugs and they're raping women, they're doing this stuff. And it's, bro, a lot of that stuff, like we were against that. Like if anything, or if anything, if you were a friend of mine and you said, hey, somebody did this to somebody, we would go handle it.
Right.
Straight up, bro. So why would we go handle something that we're involved in? Like that doesn't make any sense, and this also too, the other thing is like this human traffic thing that's going on now.
Right.
Like I can tell you right now, like I said, as God is my witness, there was several of us in the club that would actually take care of business with people that we knew were doing that. You know what I mean? And it's hardcore stuff, like Hollywood stuff. Like it's hardcore stuff, you know what I mean? And people don't realize that, but we would go take care of business, as they call it, on people who were exploiting children. Because half of us outlaw biker guys are dads, bro. Like we're dads with legit jobs. Like we're dads, and so it's just weird. Like the stuff that people put on and smut us up with, and don't get me wrong, there's a bad apple in everything. Law enforcement, you name it. There's bad apples in everything. So I'm sure there was guys in the club that were doing, a lot harder things and stuff like that. But I never put myself around them. I never associated with them. But, I do know that there was guys that were doing stuff like that. But anyways, one of the reasons why I left the club was because I knew my time was up. And I don't know if you guys are like this or not, but anything in my life, God has to actually really move hard in me because I'm so lazy and complacent and I just get comfortable, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get comfortable, dude. And so I was comfortable in the club, and it wasn't until, things happen that, God shakes me and moves me and tells me it's time to go. So when I made the decision to leave and I made the decision to get on, it was a hard decision to make because I loved a lot of the brothers, but it was very easy decision to make because I knew I was going to be free.
Yeah.
And meaning free that I don't have to check in with nobody anymore. I don't have to answer any more questions. I don't have to check in where I'm going, or I don't have to, hey, I'm going with Kyle somewhere, blah, blah. Like, nah. Like, now I don't have to do any of that stuff. I can ride wherever I want, and go wherever I want. So.
I like that. All right, you guys, it is the bottom half of the hour. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break, but when we come back, we're going to continue talking to, I almost called you Angel Baby.
That too. Hey.
Shout out to Angel Baby. But we're gonna continue chopping up with Angel. You guys listening to Whatever Works on KCAA 106.5 FM and 1050 AM. We'll be right back.
Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in Durga, walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
What's wrong with Neil Gorsuch? His soul, I mean. As one of the domineering right-wing extremists on the Supreme Court, Gorsuch routinely supports enthroning plutocracy, autocracy, and his own brand of Christian theocracy over people's democratic rights. But he also uses his unelected, unchecked judicial position to take power and justice away from America's least powerful, most vulnerable people, including the homeless. For example, he ruled last month that an Oregon city's ban on homeless residents sleeping outdoors was not cruel and unusual punishment. Never mind that the city provided nowhere else for homeless individuals and families to bed down. Gorsuch saw no problem with penalizing people who have to sleep or camp out in parks, on the street, etc. After all, he blithely explained, it was not a ban on homelessness, but merely on sleeping outdoors. It makes no difference, exclaimed His Supremeness, whether the violator is homeless or a backpacker on vacation. Or I suppose he'd say, a Supreme Court justice sleeping under a bridge. To punctuate his cluelessness, Gorsuch actually asserted that the law applied equally to everyone, except, of course, that the homeless can't just go home after being kicked out from under the bridge. This is Jim Hightower saying it's rank injustice for Gorsuch, a child of a politically powerful and rich family, product of Ivy League schools and high-dollar law firms, possessor of enormous personal wealth and multiple homes, to dictate let-them-eat-cake rules for homeless people he will never know or understand. Yes, homelessness is a complex social scourge, but cavalierly criminalizing its victims is itself a crime that solves nothing. Neil is not morally fit to judge poor people, so how about replacing him with a homeless person who actually knows something about real life? The Hightower Radio Lowdown is made possible by you subscribers to Jim Hightower's Lowdown on Substack. Find us at jimhightower.substack.com.
In these trying times, many people are depressed and lost because the future of our society is up in the air. If you're turning to substance abuse because you're feeling there is no hope, we have a way for you to see the light. SAD, or Stop Abusing Drugs, is a nonprofit organization that will help you at no cost to you stop abusing drugs. Founded by Tony Navarchi, SAD will refer you to the top detox doctors in your area. SAD will pay every and any cost for you, including doctor visits, counseling, and medications. If you need help, SAD is there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you or a loved one needs help, or if you have a suggestion or idea for Tony, you can reach out to him by calling 844-493-3386. That's 844-493-3386. Or email Tony at tony@saddetox.com. That's Tony at saddetox.com.
I'm Robert Manny, host of Guys Radio, heard Wednesdays at 8 and Sundays at 6 p.m. right here on KCAA. Guys Radio is the place where men and women can be at their best and everyone wins. We're here to inform you, inspire you, and empower you through the journeys, stories, and insights of the guests I bring you every week to the show. This is Robert Manny, host of Guys Radio, inviting you to join me Wednesdays at 8 and Sundays at 6 p.m. right here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
And now, the voices of KCAA with an exciting announcement.
Want to hear NBC News or KCAA anywhere you go? Well, now there's an app for that.
KCAA is celebrating 25 years and our silver anniversary with a brand new app.
The new KCAA app is now available on your smart device, cell phone, in your car, or any place.
Just search KCAA on Google Play or in the Apple Store.
One touch and you can listen on your car radio, Bluetooth device, Android Auto, or Apple CarPlay.
Catch the KCAA buzz in your earbuds or on the streets, celebrating 25 years of talk, news, and excellence with our new KCAA app.
Just do it and download it.
KCAA, celebrating 25 years.
Hey, feeling good, like I should. When in dark, I walk around the neighborhood. Feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy Sunday. You're listening to Whatever Works on KCAA 1050 AM and Express 106.5 FM. I'm your host, Sam Works.
I'm Kyle Kerrigan.
I'm Angel.
This is Angel. He's out in the building, guys. He's one of our special guests this week. So fun. We had a good first half hour of the show. I highly encourage you guys to go back and listen to it. You can go on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whatever, and just look up
KCAA, whatever
Sorry,
works.
I caught you yawning right there. My bad, brother.
Good.
But now it's about to get a little juicy. We only got about 20, 25 minutes, but we started to transition into what we really wanted to talk about. The first half was who is Angel, was he about, and all this good stuff. Now, the one thing that I really want him to speak of is his testimony and before and after and even during, because you know, a lot of people, when they talk about things like, they talk about their past, which is like, dang, that's crazy. And then they talk about, you know, them now, which is, all right, good, you made it through. But no one talks about, like, the process.
Yeah.
You know? And it's always like, I was born poor and then now I'm rich, or like whatever the case may be. But no one talks about the process. And me and my business partner, we always talk about enjoy the process. Because once you get to the one side or the other, like, that's it. You're on one side. But, like, no one ever, like, the experience is what makes the story great, you know?
Absolutely.
So I'm going to let you take the mic and talk about your testimony before and after.
So what the process was for me was the fact that I knew that I couldn't serve two masters, right? You can't be claim to be a godly man because, believe it or not, my stepfather, whom I've been with since I was 6 years old, was a pastor, right? So I always knew the Word of God. But I faked the funk, I call it. For a little while, I would show up to church at the River's Edge in Rancho Cucamonga, right, with my patch on. And I was asked by one of the founding members of the Mongols, Big Al Aceves, shout out to him. But he told me, he says, hey, come here, fool. He's like, who are you glorifying, the Mongols or Jesus? And I was like, okay. So that was one way of getting checked. So anyways, he says, man, you need to drop that patch, bro. And he's the founder, like literally the founder of the club. And he's telling me I need to walk away. I need to start serving God, right? So you can't serve two masters. And I tried, and I'm here to tell any young people that are listening that think about joining a gang or think about joining a motorcycle club or whatever it is you know what? You're either shout out to Pastor Ron from His Place Ministry, but he told me a long time ago, he said, you're guaranteed, because I was going to join the Vagos too. I wanted to join the Vagos Motorcycle Club. But he said, you're guaranteed three things joining a club. It's the 3 Ds, death, drugs, or detention, right? And it couldn't be more true. I mean, because I spent 8 years in the Mongols, so I know that that's true, right? I just was smart enough not to get caught up to go to prison. I never smart enough not to use drugs. And death, drugs, and I'm still alive. Yeah, there you go. So, right? So,
yeah.
So that transition is, I always knew I had a higher calling. And I was one of those brothers in the club. And any brother or anybody listening to this or that's going to listen to this that's part of the club, either back then or now, knows I was a solid brother. I was always there for people. My nickname in the club was Stinky, but whatever, right?
Different story.
Yeah, different story. But I was always there for people. And I was always that type of guy that I would go talk to you before I'd knock you out, right? Like I'd rather just work it out, like, you know, instead of fisticuff, let's talk first and then figure out if we can come to an agreement. If we can't, you're getting knocked out, straight up. But so when I made the transition and I walked away from the club, I didn't have, because, you know, you get a label called out bad, right? So they consider me out bad, right? But I consider me in good with Jesus Christ now, right? So I'll take the out bad label, because the out bad label is not, I was never a rat, snitch, child molester, anything like that the old original outlaws used the out bad for. Now out bad's just thrown out for anybody that's out of the club. They're out bad, just meaning a member can't talk to you anymore. You know, you're no longer in good graces with the club. It is what it is, right? But I'm in good graces with Jesus Christ, and that's all that matters to me now. So there's nothing that anybody can do to me that's not going to send me to my maker, right? Yeah. So, but when I first got out of the club, you know, I waited for, you know, my own club. I waited for certain members of the Hells Angels, now that I was actually solo, to come after me, right? Because if they came after me now, I had no backup. Like, if they came after me when I was in the club, it'd be on it cracking. It'd be a full-blown war, right? But, like there already is, but it would be even worse because they're touching a member, especially a president. But anyways, so now I was kind of worried for a couple of weeks or whatever, and then that time goes by, and then you're just kind of like, okay, what do I do now, right? So, you know, I started just continuing being a truck driver, because I started my truck driving journey when I started prospecting for the Mongols, believe it or not, right? So I just consumed my life and my work. I just drove trucks all the time, and now obviously I didn't have an excuse now, you know, because every time, because in the club, I mean, you go broke. You're spending money on alcohol, you're spending money on motorcycle, the rides, you know, going to Sturgis, to New Mexico, to Arizona, Nevada, Oregon, like literally we're traveling everywhere, right? So you're spending money. So to be an outlaw biker, it's not like the old days. Like this, it costs money to be a biker. Right, you
got a fundraiser.
And, yeah, no, for reals, right? For reals, right? Yeah, and then you're on top of that, you're paying dues. So now I have none of that stuff. I have not, you know. So I'm focusing on my work, and then I joined a church called the Packing House in Redlands here. In 2014, I started warming up a seat at the Packing House. I was that type of church guy. Shout out to you church people that just do this. I would come after worship. Right before the message, I'd sit in the seat, warm it up, and as soon as pastor got up to do altar call, I was like, all right, I'm out of here, right? Because, you know, I didn't think I needed, you know, to be saved, because I was already saved, whatever, right? So it's not, and, you know, the Packing House Church is, for the lack of a better term, it's a mega church. So there's a lot of people that go there, and pre-COVID, obviously, there was tons of people that went there. So you can get lost in the cracks, right? But I'm a big dude. I'm 300 pounds, you know, tattooed up, my neck's tattooed, my arms tattooed. So I stood out like a sore thumb.
I was going to say, yeah.
Okay, so we'd have people, shout out to my church, that would be like, oh, we're not even going to talk to you. Like, we're not going to look at you. Like, hey, what's up, buddy? You know, love you. Jesus loves you. Okay, great. You know, and then I'd have people brothers that would actually come up, hey, how you doing? You know, nice to meet you. You know, and they'd want to get to know you, right? So it wasn't until I got into ministry, and in ministry meaning couples ministry, men's ministry, different things in the church, to start figuring out the body of Christ. Like, you know, Sam has a purpose in the church. Kyle has a purpose in the church. And then we talk as brothers and we fellowship, right? Yeah. It wasn't until I started to do my own ministry, in my ministry of protection, right, as an armor bearer, as taking care of the pastors and making sure and being a watchman for them, right? So I'm unofficially a watchman for my pastor, because we don't have that label at our church, like security or head of security, anything like that. But I take pride in going to Wednesday night service, Saturday night service, 2 Sunday services, and just being a presence there for my pastors, so they know that they're protected if something were to happen, right? So, but it wasn't until I got into ministry that I didn't start feeling a part of the church and feeling like I knew and I had like a brotherhood there, right? But just like in anything, and I'm going to be transparent and very honest with your viewers and your listeners and whoever, the church is going to fail you. It always does. It's man-made, bro. Like, so I don't bank on religion. I bank on relationship. So I have
Okay,
I have a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Right. And I have a relationship with people at my church, but I know that they're going to fail me. Does that make sense?
Because
they're man, and man fails, right? So a lot of people think that going to a church, but let's start from the beginning. So we believe that you get saved by saying the sinner's prayer, right? And you're forgiven of all your sins and you move on. Okay, that's what church people believe is you're being saved. But a lot of people think that when you give your life to God, fireworks, missiles, all kinds of things start taking off, and it's a big party and hoo-ha, hooray, right? And all your problems go away. And that's a lie.
Right.
That's when the
opposite, right?
It's hardcore opposite.
Yeah.
That's when the devil says, "Really, punk? This is what you're going to do? You're going to give your life to God? What about me? What about porn? What about all these things that you love? What about women? Dude, I have women put in your path so you'll stare at them instead of your wife, right? The devil, every day attacks me, bro. No, every day attacks me hardcore, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, like, it's a tough journey. But it wasn't until I got into ministry and I started really having a band of brothers that were there for me to talk about these issues and stuff like that. Because, in the club, right? What is it? Misery loves company, right? So if I'm into all these crazy things, I guarantee Kyle and you guys are into it too, right? And we're gonna go party, right? But when you're in the body of Christ and you're hanging out with Jesus and you're have a relationship with him, if I'm struggling as a brother, I'm going to come to Sam and say, "Hey, bro, Isaac, whoever," and say, "Hey, I'm struggling with this, dude. Can you guys help me out?"
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, and I'm not going to put him on blast, but we had a guy today at our church, literally ready to end it. And it wasn't until the last service, he stood in the back and I was told, "Hey, do you know that guy?" Because obviously we're doing safety, right? So I said, "Yeah, I do. I recognize him." They said, "Oh, okay, cool. Well, we know he's not a threat anymore then." I'm like, "Okay." But there was something in his face that I recognized, bro. And I went up and talked to him, and sure enough, dude, this was going to be his last day on earth. He was that bad. And me and another brother from the church, another well-known brother, we prayed for him. We laid hands on him. We talked to him. We were there for him. We loved on him. And that's what my God, Jesus Christ, does, is when you are that type of person with them, and you embrace them and you love them, that's all that matters. Because nobody wants to hear about religion, bro. Like, when this guy's struggling, I'm not going to sit here and tell him, "You know what, bro, I'm not going to talk to you unless, you clean yourself up and, you get right."
Right.
No,
Yeah,
I don't care. I don't care. You're going to come in whatever you want, and we're going to love on you. And that's what it should be about.
Yeah.
That's what it should be about. I mean, that's what I firmly believe in, but, so.
Yeah, no, that's tough because sometimes I get in that mentality where, like you said, like, men, they fail, like, all the time. And for me, it's like I've been failing a lot, whatever, but, like, I've been a little more serious in my life in the past, year or two. And when I see other people messing up, I'm always just like, well, cut it off and then we'll talk. But that's not the right way to approach it. You know what I mean? Because, like, they need, if that was the case, they would have done it a long time ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's tough, and it's tough to leave something like, my lady's probably listening right now, but
shout out to her.
Yeah. Well, she's gonna yell at me when I get home. But one of my things is what I struggle with is, like, women. Yeah. And I'm a pretty boy, so
we
it's
all
like,
do.
It's very attractive to me, and it's attractive to them, and it's like this whole game. And I've been very blessed. I've done, a lot of drugs in my life, and I've been blessed not to be addicted to all that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But again, like, women, that's one of them. That's a tough one.
No, and I think that's where we all fall, because we're man. Like, like males,
Yeah.
And let's just be realistic. It happens, and it does. And the thing is a lot of people, like, there's backslidden is written in the Bible. people backsliding, people falling away from the church, people falling away from things. And some people fall so far back because they feel like as a man, whatever sin they committed is unforgivable, and that's not true. You know what I mean? As long as you're not out there worshiping Satan and you're in the Illuminati and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, you still have a way to come back, right?
You still have a chance.
You still have a chance. But the thing is like a lot of people think and get scared and don't want to come back to the church because they're scared of whatever they did, and male or female, right? But our God is a forgiving God, you know, and I believe that no matter what you do, you can still ask for forgiveness and be forgiven. It's just our mindset has to be not to do that again, right? But just because we're going to fail again doesn't mean that we stop, right? And so many people have fallen away from the church or from God's grace, and they think that because there's no way of coming back, God's not going to forgive me. The church is going to fall down if I walk in. I've heard it all, like, you know, from people at church. But, you know, the fact of the matter is we serve a good God, a loving God, you know, and yes, he is a God of wrath, and he has been. But at the same time, if, you know, I think that's what we fell away in this world from. And if we got back to it, things would be a little bit better, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, what's really crazy is when, like, there's that saying, like, oh, like, Christians always have a bad life, or they have it bad, right? And the way I think about it is, like, all right, God created the world, but the devil controls it. And it's like, if you believe in God, like, you're right, the devil's going to be pissed. Yeah. And he's going to do whatever it takes for you not to believe in God.
Absolutely.
You know? It's like, oh, why is if God's so loving, why does all these bad things happen in life? Well, first of all, God gave us the free will.
Absolutely.
He's not going to just step in and, like, control everything, because that's not what he made us for.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? And so, like, it's always a test. Every day is a test, you know? A test to be grateful, a test to believe, and a test to, like, control yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of my favorite quotes, which I can't quote it, but basically it's like, once you're able to control yourself, then God will give you the key to whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's like, if you wanna start a business, or if you want to start a family, control yourself first. Yeah. Because how can you control other things if you can't even control yourself?
And in the Bible, it says, deny yourself. Die to yourself. You have to die to who you are in order to be what Christ wanted you to be.
Right.
And then once you do that, you know, and you can die to yourself, because we all have egos. Bottom line, dude. Like I said, you said you're a handsome dude. I got a pastor who's a handsome man. And if it's not for me being with them and hanging out with them and stuff like that, like, you know, he could slip maybe. You know, we never know. But the thing is like, there's a lot of that's a lot of our struggle, you know, but we have to die to who we are first, you know, in order to gain the kingdom of heaven, and just be able to fellowship and talk to people and love on people and stuff. Because when you die to your ego, you know, and I mean, it's a tough thing, man. It's really is. And I've struggled with, and I still struggle with every day, different things that, you know, have haunted me my entire past. And, you know, one of them was my mom issues, you know, back in the day. You know, I had mom issues, and I wanted a hug, you know. I needed a hug. So, you know, and now thank God I have a good wife who gives me a hug even when I don't want it. And I'm surrounded by estrogen. I got 4 female dogs. I got a crazy 4-year-old daughter that lives at the house. My 20-year-old daughter is up my butt all the time. So it's like I'm surrounded by women. So God's like, haha, you're you know, an awesome and hilarious God. So of course, you know, the way I used to womanize back in the day, God's paying me back now by giving me all women to take care of.
Right. That's the way it works, dude. I love it.
On that note,
we only have about a minute left. Is there anything that we want to say before we head out, Kyle?
No, just everyone have a good Sunday. Have a happy New Year.
Yeah. Angel?
Stay prayed up. This world's getting ugly. 2025 is not looking too good. Just stay prayed up, pray for your family, and love on your kids.
Cool. All right, you guys, that's it. Until next time. Next week we have another guest, so stay tuned for that. And stick around for the next show that starts in about 5 minutes. You're listening to Whatever Works on KCAA. Have a good night.
Hey, feeling good, like I should.